In August of 2024, a YouTuber named Frank uploaded a rather terrifying video titled "Apparition of a Child Seen Hiding in an Abandoned Mansion" on his channel Franco TV. His channel mainly focuses on urban exploration, and he often uploads footage of his strange and bizarre encounters exploring various haunted and abandoned locations. In this particular video, Frank decided to investigate an abandoned mansion located somewhere in Peru. According to Frank, the mansion is situated in a pretty dangerous neighborhood as it is known to be a hotspot for criminal activity. He also notes that the mansion was previously raided by the police for suspected human trafficking. As Frank approaches the building, he peeks through a broken window and notices creepy graffiti and writings on the walls. As he walks inside, he finds fingerprints all over one of the windows, indicating that someone else might have been there recently, but doesn't hear or see anyone else inside and continues with his investigation. However, little did Frank know that encountering another person would be the least of his worries, because when he stepped into one of the rooms, he stumbled upon something truly disturbing.
You can tell a lot of people have been here with the handprints. Looks like little kid hands. You see it? Jesus Christ. I hope I'm not walking into something. Literally just thought I heard somebody move. This is the room I wanted to check out originally. Oh, what the hell? Wait. I'm not seeing this right. Why are these things like barred in there? It looks like a dungeon or something. They don't want somebody coming out. Hola? This place is known for pretty much trafficking around this property. And they ended up, it was a big bust. And I've already seen a ton of other things that kind of implicate that as well. Oh, that one opened up. That one opened up quite easy. And there's red stains on the door. And there's more suspicious red stains on the wall. What scares me with this is that this definitely looks like real blood. And this too. Looks like somebody was like putting their bloody hand around the wall, like they were waiting in here for a while.
As Frank entered the room, he immediately noticed two identical doors with metal bars over them. When he opened one of the doors, he saw red stains on the door and even on the walls. This was particularly alarming given that Frank had mentioned the house was raided for trafficking. After this disturbing discovery, Frank carefully investigated the room, trying to comprehend what had happened inside. As he looked around, he suddenly heard mysterious noises coming from the main hallway.
What the hell is this? But this is disgusting. It even stinks in this room. What the hell is that? Hola. Holy shit, this thing just went off. I want to make sure nobody walked in here. Ayúdame. Comen matar. What this says on the wall is help me. They're going to pretty much eliminate me. But ironically, I feel a little bit more safer when it's all dark because nobody sees me with a light on. Listen. The thing went off again. What the hell is up with this thing? I'm gonna take this with me. In fact, I'm gonna put this right here. I don't know if this thing's defected or what, but this is the only toy that I found in this place thus far. So at this point, I'm gonna leave the toy right here. I'm gonna see if I can ask it to turn the toy on, because I think whatever's here doesn't want me next to the toy, or maybe it's a child, or maybe it's some sort of, something's messing with me here.
After hearing the mysterious noises, Frank immediately went to investigate their source. He discovered the sounds were coming from a kid's toy remote. This strange experience left him puzzled. He left the toy on the floor and began searching for any sign of someone or something that might have caused it to activate. Unfortunately, he found nothing. But then, the toy started making noises again. Not knowing if someone was playing a prank or if the toy was malfunctioning, Frank decided to place it in the middle of the room. He then went to the end of the hallway to see if the toy would make noise again. As he stared intently at the toy, he saw something far worse than a noisy toy.
Let's see if I can get it to go off again. Niño, ¿tú puedes mover la cosa? Toca la botón. Niño. I'm gonna turn off the light. What the fuck is that? What the fuck was that? I just heard a sound. Listen. I don't know what I just heard or seen. I just seen something really creepy just standing there. Hold on, I'm gonna go walk to it. I swear to God, I just seen something standing right here. I don't know what the hell just happened, but I was waiting for the toy to turn off, and as soon as I turned off the light, I seen something right over here. It almost looked like a reflection peeking in from the light, but then it moved. I don't know what that was. Oh, I'm getting out. I'm gonna go outside. I don't know what the f that was.
As Frank stared intently at the toy, he called out in Spanish, "Kid, can you move the thing?" Tapped the button, and just moments later as he switched off his flashlight, you can see a white figure, resembling a child, as it stands behind the toy. Frank instantly flicked his light back on and rushed to investigate the spot where he'd seen the figure, but yet again he found nothing. Disturbed by this bizarre encounter, Frank immediately ran out of the mansion. As he tried to make sense of everything he'd just witnessed, he noticed something peeking out of a first-floor window.
Right now I'm looking at a window from the outside here. I literally just saw a head peeking out right from that window. Somebody was just staring at me. Is it moving? Look at that. What the hell is that? Alright, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but I'm gonna keep moving as normal. There's something in that back room, but I'm not going into this mansion. I do have the K2 meter. I want to see if I can hear or see whatever the hell I just saw. Can you give me a sign? Can you touch the toy? I just need to know that you're here with me. This place is so freaking creepy. So I switched over to my other camera. I thought I felt safer. Completely dark, it lied. I definitely do not. What the fuck? Hola? Hola? What was that? I literally saw what looked like an arm. It looked like a kid's arm just pushed the door open.
After Frank saw something peeking out of the window, he went inside holding his ghost hunting equipment. As he walked toward one of the rooms, a small hand, seemingly belonging to a child, suddenly pushed through the door. Frank once again searched everywhere but found nothing. This terrifying encounter left him shaken, but also filled him with anxiety about the sinister events that must have once taken place within the abandoned mansion. As a result, he decided to place a piece of chocolate where he'd just seen the hand. What he witnessed next was truly heartbreaking and disturbing.
This is what you call a soufflime. One of the best chocolates in Peru. I'm gonna put it right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and close the door. Hear that? I just heard a sound. I can hear what sounds like the wrapper moving. Listen. That was my stomach. Hear it? I definitely heard what sounded like the wrapper moving. That was right outside the door. The candy's still on the floor. I'm keeping my chocolate. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at this chocolate and I want it more and more. But I did hear this thing moving.
After hearing the wrapper moving, Frank immediately opened the door and searched every room, desperate for an explanation for what he was witnessing. After another failed investigation, Frank picked up the chocolate and stepped outside the mansion. However, as he was looking through one of the windows, he saw the kid staring directly at him.
Sorry if I'm shaking so much. That's that whole hallway. And then right here is the big window. What the hell is that? Oh, shit. That look. Oh, fuck. I legit just saw a kid staring at me. I thought it was something else, like an illusion thing, but that was it. Moved. It moved right in there, and if you look to the side, it doesn't seem to be anything. Look, what the fuck? Look at this. There's literally handprints, little kid handprints all over the window. Definitely look like little kid hands looking in. I am 100% convinced that there is a kid inside this building, or a ghost of one, but I just seen it right here, peeking right out, and then went right back in.
As Frank stepped outside the mansion, he glanced towards one of the windows. For a brief moment, he saw a child staring directly at him before vanishing. Disturbingly, when Frank approached the window, he discovered fingerprints and stains on the glass, right where he'd just seen the child. After this bizarre encounter, Frank decided to investigate further and went back inside the mansion, hoping to find the child. However, as usual, he found nothing and eventually left. Later, while talking to one of the mansion's security guards, Frank recounted his encounter, describing the child looking directly at him through the window, the hand pushing the door, and everything else he'd witnessed. To his surprise, the guard confirmed that there had been multiple reports of a child being seen inside the mansion. He even admitted to having seen the child himself. The reason for the presence of a white figure resembling a child and the true events that transpired inside the mansion remains a mystery. However, based on the information Frank provided, it's very likely that something sinister was at play. In November of 2017, a YouTuber named John uploaded a terrifying video titled "Scariest Thing I Have Ever Caught on Camera" to his channel Exploration Unknown. John's channel is dedicated to urban exploration, and he often shares footage of him exploring various abandoned locations throughout North America. In this particular video, John chose to explore an abandoned farmstead located somewhere in the United States. According to John, the farm stretches over 100 acres of land, but has been abandoned for a considerable time. Since then, it has been rumored to be haunted, with multiple reports of ghost sightings and other bizarre occurrences. Despite all of this, John decided to investigate the farm at 3 in the morning. He began his exploration by venturing deep into the woods to locate the abandoned farm. As he walked toward the location, John noticed that the area was overrun with overgrown trees, and the various structures appeared severely damaged, with some on the verge of collapsing. This suggested that the farm had been abandoned and neglected for a significant amount of time. As John continued his exploration, he moved from one area to another and noticed all the machinery and equipment that had been left behind. However, while investigating one of the sheds, that's when he encountered something truly disturbing.
I'm not gonna lie, that really freaked me out when I first saw it. Which is weird because it's like somebody's jacket just hanging there. And this old barn garage. Oh wow. That actually still got, oh wow. It's unopened motor oil. That's really cool. There's a bunch of cans up here. This is probably not the safest structure to be inside of right now. It is all collapsed everywhere around me except there's one little spot I'm in. Here's what I want to show you guys. Okay guys, what is here in front of me? The 1953 5-window Chevrolet 3100. This is my dream truck. This is the truck I want.
As John walked into the garage, he noticed several sealed cans of motor oil lying on the shelves. Outside, he discovered an old 1950s truck, suggesting that the owners must have suddenly abandoned the farm. This detail was particularly alarming, given that the farm is rumored to be haunted. However, as John made his way toward another part of the property, his camera captured something that completely changed the course of the investigation.
Okay, there's the old barn in the woods. This is actually a thriving farm at one point. Still a pretty solid looking old barn, except for that corner. I just love being out in the woods at night. Something really freaking cool about it. Okay. Something really freaking cool about it.
If you look closely at the moment when John walks out of the barn, you can clearly see a woman with long hair, dressed entirely in white, standing beside the trees and staring intently at him. However, John was unaware of her presence and continued to explore the farm for an additional 10 minutes. Fortunately, he did not capture or encounter the woman during that time. It wasn't until he returned home and reviewed the footage that he noticed the woman staring directly at him. The woman's identity remains a mystery, along with the question of whether John's experience that night was paranormal, especially considering the farm's reputation for being haunted. However, since John has not provided any further updates regarding the woman, this mystery remains unsolved. In September of 2015, a YouTuber named Dan uploaded a terrifying video titled "Exploring Creepy Abandoned Children's Asylum" to his channel. This is Dan Bell. His channel is dedicated to urban exploration, and he's been documenting footage of his bizarre encounters in various abandoned locations for over a decade. In this particular video, Dan decided to explore an abandoned children's asylum known as the Gundry Sanitarium, situated in Baltimore, Maryland. Constructed in 1880, the Gundry Sanitarium was one of the first private mental health facilities in Maryland. It played a significant role in providing essential care to those with psychiatric needs. Originally dedicated to treating nervous disorders in women, the facility later expanded its services to include care for children with acute psychiatric issues. This transition reflected the growing recognition of children's mental health concerns at the time. However, over the years, the facility faced challenges in adapting to the evolving landscape of mental health care. As a result, it was ultimately shut down in the early 2000s. Since then, the facility has been completely abandoned and has gained a reputation for being haunted. There have been multiple reports from urban explorers and ghost hunters claiming to have seen spirits of former patients. These reports often include accounts of strange noises, cold spots, and feelings of being watched. Despite all this, Dan chose to go on a solo exploration of the abandoned asylum. As he began his exploration, Dan showed his viewers the building's poor condition, with crumbling walls and ceilings. Some structures even appeared as if they could collapse at any given moment. As he explored further, he came across piles of junk and trash scattered everywhere. The first few minutes of his video went pretty smoothly, as he didn't hear or see anything unusual. However, just moments later, while exploring one of the rooms, that's when Dan encountered something truly disturbing.
Shit. Fucking battery exploded.
According to Dan, after he heard the footsteps, he didn't think much of them and dismissed them as an animal walking around the building. But disturbingly, just moments after hearing the noise, his camera's battery suddenly exploded. Dan, again thinking this was probably a coincidence, dismissed this detail. He then quickly replaced the battery and started recording again. However, that's when his camera captured something that completely changed the course of his investigation. If you look closely at the footage, you can clearly see the shadow of someone or something hiding inside the room. But Dan was completely unaware of this detail at the time and continued exploring. As Dan went upstairs to explore the rest of the building, that's when his camera captured something once again. If you look closely at the point when Dan walks towards the door, you can see what appears to be an eye peeking out of the hole before it suddenly disappears. But Dan once again didn't notice this detail at the time. It wasn't until he reviewed the footage later that he saw the eyes peeking out of the hole. Dan, unaware of any of these chilling encounters, continued with his exploration. However, as he stepped inside one of the rooms, that's when he started hearing voices coming out of an empty room. It's evident that a fast whisper can be heard just as Dan was looking at the red stains. Although it's hard to comprehend what it said, one particular comment from Dan's original video makes this encounter even more disturbing. The comment mentions that the voice sounded like someone saying, "I was shot here." After reading this particular comment, it does sound like the voice said, "I was shot here." If this is actually the case, then this encounter becomes very alarming, given that Dan was directly looking at the red stains. This could explain why the voice said it was shot there. But again, this is merely a theory based on a comment left by Dan's viewer and has not been verified or debunked. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether Dan's encounter in the children's asylum was paranormal or simply a squatter or homeless individual stalking him.